space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim. With me, of course, is Admiral Elliot.
All I want to do is explore fucking quasars.
And Dr. Squee.
Walk with the prophets, my child.
Which brings us on to the Trek news, which unfortunately it's sad Trek news again, which was the passing of Louise Fletcher this last week, who, of course, as Dr. Squee alluded to, played Kai Wynn, and perhaps probably more famously in the mainstream Nurse Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but that woman could play a villain.
It may look like we're actually wearing headphones. This is so she can't, from beyond the grave, like reach for her ears and grab them really hard to read our part. It's one of those really sad ones. And actually, I've got to admit something. I actually thought she'd passed away a few years ago when I read this. I thought it was like one of those things which had accidentally been shared online. You know, when something just kind of someone shares it and then everyone reshares it. So I was kind of glad that she was alive for a few more years, but it's like it's just so sad to see her go. Like you say, just two of the most strong villains the strongest villain in the movies. Nurse Ratched has to be in contender for that, and one of the strongest villains on TV, the Kite, who just got more villainous as it went along, and she started pretty damn evil when she started. So, just one actor.
Yeah.
Have we lost James? I think he went frozen.
James.
Have you got any favorite kind of like episodes or moments with the Kai?
I think it was quite when we see it through DS9, and we all know as the audience that she was evil.
Yeah.
And Kira knew she was evil, but she played the part where she believed she was being good.
Yeah, I mean, even when
it was a really complicated part she played, and she portrayed it brilliantly.
Because you had to have most of the people fooled by her, otherwise she couldn't be in the position she is. She also, it was like even when she did stuff which was out and out evil, or she did deals with people to like during the 3-parter episode at the beginning of series 2, I think it is, and the Siege is one of the episodes, and they've got she out and out does something really. She like pays someone off to assassinate someone. I'm getting half the details here, but it's like even when she knows she's done out and out evil, she believes it's for the greater good.
Yeah,
even to the point where she joins the parades.
Yeah, right at the very end, I think she realizes that she's actually gone the evil way. When they start summoning the parades, she realizes that. I think she has a moment of, how would you put it?
Come to Jesus moment.
Yeah. Yeah, but she realizes what's happened, and James's internet's gone down, by the way.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully we'll have James back with us soon.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been watching back Deep Space Nine. I'm on the last series at the moment, and just it's even the arc of like she starts off as dodgy as hell, but then you're kind of like it's like peeling the layers of evil, where it's like, okay, there she's being a bit manipulative. There she's kind of like being a bit prideful in kind of like when they open up the school and she thinks they should teach away the prophets, and it seems like her nose gets out of joint really easily by a lot of the stuff. And then she's paying people to kill someone, to assassinate someone.
Yeah.
Or manipulating them to do it. And it's just, and every time you think she couldn't get more evil, or when it looks like she's about to turn good, when she's talking to Kira about, have I been doing things wrong this whole time? And Kira goes, it's like, don't worry, everything will be fine once you stand down as Kai. She goes, oh, no, I'm not standing down as Kai. And she just leans into the evil again.
Yeah.
The second that her repentance is going to cost her anything, she turns straight back again. It's brilliant.
We've got him back.
Yeah, sorry about that. We just had a complete internet outage. It just went, and anyway, we're back. So have we been talking about Kai Wynn?
We have.
I'm just trying to put it back where it should be.
I was putting James back there. I'll move myself over. Is that better? Do you like your side?
I don't. Yeah.
I've got my seat in the front room. I can't really say anything, and I need James to be in the middle. That's my main requirement. I don't know why I've got so OCD about this suddenly, but James, yeah, we were just talking about our favorite kind of memories of her from Deep Space Nine. Have you got any kind of favorites?
I mean, you may have covered. She was just great, though, wasn't she? She was just such a good villain, and I think the fact that she stayed on the show so long, like when they first introduced her.
Oh no,
Have we lost him again?
I think we have. Okay. I was just going to talk about it. Oh, we going back?
Sorry, if I drop out, you guys will just have to do the show. But
you might have to repeat all that.
Right, I'll start again. So yeah, when they first introduced her, it felt like she was just going to be the villain of the week, like she was just an antagonist for Burial in that season 1 finale. And then she appeared a couple more times, and then they did the episode, I think it was The Collaborator, where you pretty much thought, oh, they're going to make Vedek Burial the Kai, that's going to be the way they're going. And then they threw you this curveball of, oh no, Wynn's now the Kai. And all of a sudden, that was like, oh, she's here to stay now. And then obviously she just grew and became almost on par with Gulda Kat as the villain. And it was them two in the final arc and everything. Yeah, she was just fantastic. She was such a good antagonist for Kira and for Cisco to an extent. And
yeah,
like
she was always trying to play against Cisco. But she was also scared of him because he was from the prophets, he was the emissary.
That was it. And like the episodes that explored the faith, I think one of her best performances was in, I forget the name of the episode, but the one where Jake gets possessed by a power rave and Kira gets possessed by a prophet or whatever it is.
Yeah, I was watching it the other day, yeah.
And it comes down to Cisco's got a greater faith in the prophets because he's willing to let whatever's going to happen to Jake, but it's Kai Wynn whose faith actually wavers and she stops it. So to play that is brilliant because she's playing this woman who is supposedly the most devout character there can be, but the cracks started to show. So yeah, she was just fantastic all the way through.
And I think also to get so known as Nurse Ratched, like everyone, Nurse Ratched is just such a reference. Everyone knows it. She was just so synonymous with that part in a day when typecasting was at its worst. And then to get so known as the Kai in Deep Space Nine is really kind of quite an achievement. And so kind of like sensible of the writers of Star Trek. And it's not like they're similar villains. They're very different parts as well. And I think it's just wonderful that they've given her this second legacy, if you will. And I'm sure she did loads of other wonderful performances, but she'll always be just remembered for these two parts mainly.
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly the two that spring to mind.
Well,
I mean,
for
me,
iconic parts, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But so again, very sad news. Other Trek news, sad but not on the same level, is that there's going to be no Kelvin Universe Star Trek 4, or at least not in the foreseeable future now.
Well, I think they almost put the nail in the coffin on that the moment they announced it and said they were getting the same cast back.
Yeah.
Because immediately you all go, oh, really? Paycheck time, you've announced this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was...
immediately.
Yeah, it was...
Oh, sorry, mate.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's like, and just disrespectful to your actors as well. Not only do they demand a big paycheck because you've just announced it, so the ball's in their court basically for that. But also, how disrespectful! It's like, yeah, we'll get them all back. They'll all be available. It's not like any of them are big A-listers. Chris Pine, Zoe Saldana, like none of these are in any big franchises at all. Like, they'll be cheap.
Yeah, it's quite ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah, but there you go. They made a few mistakes with that one, and to be honest, like I would have liked to have seen a final Kelvin film to kind of wrap it all up. But with how much Star Trek we're getting at the minute, I don't feel like we need another Kelvin film.
No, I think that we've spoken about this before, that what we'd like with a Star Trek film is like what they're going to do with Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds next season, where we get them all come together. And with so many, there's them opportunities. Use what we're showing and what the audience is watching now.
Yeah, exactly.
We've moved on from them Star Trek movies.
Yeah.
But I mean, they previously pointed towards the kind of low box office that, you know, they did okay, but they didn't set the box office light. But to be honest with you, every cast member's just got bigger in profile since the third movie. You know, you got the boys for Keith Urban or Carl Urban. I always get those two mixed up, and they're very different people. You got Simon Pegg's just done more and more stuff. Like all of them have just become bigger and bigger. So I think that would be a hell of a draw at the box office now. But
I think it would be. But anyway, they did shoot himself in the foot a little bit there. And I remember when it was first announced, I remember thinking it was a bit overly ambitious to say we're aiming for Christmas 23. So even if everything had fallen into line perfectly, that's still a very short turnaround for what would no doubt have been a big movie.
A huge budget movie.
Yeah. So either way, I mean, I think we can safely say there will be another Star Trek film at some point. But I would guess that it's not high on the list of priorities for Paramount at the minute.
Now been saying that he'd do another next gen movie, hasn't he?
Yeah. So
he'd be up for doing. So I'm assuming we don't get an end of Patrick Stewart in the final season of Picard. If he's talking about he'd be willing to come back and do another movie to finish it all.
Well, it could be just throwing you off the scent, though. It might be quite definitive, the ending. You never know. But
it just seems so maddening that they can't put it together, or they can't, especially at times like you were saying about the box about going for the end of 2023. Like the box office has become so volatile. It's never really kind of stabilized since the since COVID shut down. And so stuff is getting put back all the time. So they set themselves already a small deadline, which is bound to get put back. It just seems crazy.
Yeah, and if the proposed Star Wars film that's now also been cancelled, Rogue Squadron, had have hit its release date, that would have been December 23. So a Star Trek and a Star Wars film head to head for the Christmas box office.
No,
I'm not sure either of them would have wanted that.
We've seen that with Nemesis when it went up against Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, that was spectacularly stupid.
Badly planned.
Yeah.
I mean, Rogue Squadron, that one did actually sadden me because I heard it's Catherine Kennedy, wasn't it, who was doing that one? And
Catherine Kennedy producing, it was Patty Jenkins directing.
Right, Patty Jenkins, that was it. And she'd spoken about how she was really looking forward to do it because it was her father's legacy. I think it was her father or mother, like one of her parents flew for the military, and so she told the story about one of the missions they went on and how exciting it was, and how they wanted to put that on. She wanted to put that on the big screen through the lens of Star Wars. It was just such a beautiful story, and it's like that was the one I was most invested in, just because it felt so personal to her. I was sure that would be seen on the screen. I
think it was the critical response that Wonder Woman 2 got that derailed that a little bit. They didn't seem quite as keen on her after Wonder Woman 2, which this is something, actually, this is completely off topic, but it is a problem in Hollywood that, like, you are seeing more female directors getting to make bigger films now. But the problem is that female directors are not allowed to make a bad film or... yeah, exactly. Like another case in point, the one that's out at the minute, we have to see it tonight, actually, that Don't Worry, Darling, which is Olivia Wilde's second film, and her first film, Booksmart, got very good reviews and did well for a low-budget film, whereas this one's not getting them. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the end of it, really, for her directing big-budget films, which is such a shame because it shows the inequality in Hollywood. Male directors are allowed to make a string of crap films, and they keep getting jobs, and they keep doing it, and they get to hone the craft and get better, whereas women directors are expected to hit a home run straight out the gate and never look back. And
who is it who does the Transformers?
Michael Bay.
Yeah, case in point.
Yeah, he's not made a good film since arguably Armageddon or definitely The Rock. So
he hasn't made a good film for at least 8 Transformer movies. I mean,
well, exactly, yeah. And let's not even get started on Zack Snyder. But anyway,
I mean, the other thing is with just on the Patty Jenkins of it all. Apparently, as well, the second Wonder Woman film got recut for when it was because it got released on on Disney Plus as opposed to on the big screen. Apparently, they did some recutting to emphasize like crowd scenes and people being together and stuff because they felt it would play well to people who were kind of feeling isolated. And so basically, it messed about with a cut, which like I doubt there was a really good cut of it, but there could have been maybe a better cut of that film.
Yeah, more than likely.
But you're right. She doesn't deserve to get screwed over because she's had one flop. It's just
ridiculous. She doesn't. And there was nothing wrong with the way it was made. The problem was the script. The directing was fine, but the way it all came together didn't work. But anyway, so this week's episode then, Lower Decks Reflections. And this is, I would venture to say, the most character-focused we've gone in Lower Decks.
It's one of my favourites so far.
Yeah, I thought it was a really impressive episode, and to devote more or less the whole episode to character development of Rutherford, who's arguably the one who's had the least character development so far. I think it was a good move, really.
Yeah.
And it was so lovely how they revealed how there was so much stuff they've laid down in the past, like his glitching system and everything.
Yeah.
By this, so they've obviously known they were going here.
And that was the thing. So we did have a clip of these people standing over him saying, oh, we'll make it look like it's elective. We've seen that before, but it's that long ago now that I'd forgotten. And I'll be honest, there's so much Star Trek to keep up with that I apologise. I know we're podcasters. We should be held to a higher standard, but there's that much going on that sometimes I do forget a subplot. And when they showed it, I was like, oh, of course, I remember that. But I've not been going into Lower Decks thinking I need to know more about this Rutherford thing. Do you know what I mean? Like it had...
Yeah, I think...
Jim, I don't think there's lower standard of account to be held to than podcasters, but let's let them know that. Sorry, Elliot. Sorry, I was just... sorry, little something stuck in my...
We could be politicians, prime ministers, members of parliament.
That's true. That stock's really gone down with the pound.
2 weeks by the looks of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry. Elliot, what were you going to say, mate?
I was just saying that the thing with this with Rutherford is there's so many things going on in Lower Decks. Like, arguably, there's more goes on in an episode of Lower Decks than any other Star Trek show because of all the other Easter eggs and references all over the place. That it's very easy to miss when they drop something in one season and as a little reference.
Yeah,
in a couple of seconds. There's that many things. I think Lower Decks is probably the hardest to keep up with.
And to be able to have such a heartfelt episode as this, which I really did, it sort of moved me kind of quite greatly in some moments, like the bit when they're talking about having his friends there on the ship, and to not sacrifice the last at all. It was just such a strong episode on every front. It didn't get less need to have the heart in there.
I often think this about like the format of a half-hour sitcom, or in America, that's usually a 22-minute sitcom, or sometimes even 20. But what we get about 25 minutes of Lower Decks, like
roughly 24, 25.
I've got my notes here, and I've just counted them up, and I've got 18 things that I thought might be worth talking about on a podcast. So that's nearly one thing a minute. And then you've got all the laughs on top of it. And then you've got all the things I've missed. It's quite incredible that they cram that all into a 25-minute runtime,
Just writing it alone, like where you're there going, it's like, right, and in this scene, you've got like the collectors there, you've got the Alan Moraine counter for those guys are there. And then they've got to describe everything in so much detail because there's so many references. I don't know what a script for this looks like,
No, you're right. That would be crazy, wouldn't it? Like,
Well,
and
you've got to be referencing. You've got to go right. We should have these, so you need to watch X, Y, and Z show for this clip, and then you need to watch this show for this clip, so you know, so you get the characterization right. Not just drawing what they look like. You've got to get how they actually were previously, but then add humor on top of it.
Yeah, it's quite a task, isn't it?
And even with that, I bet these guys have to be like pretty much Trek. Everyone working the show has to have a good amount of Trek knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
Trek knowledge, really. It's just such a feat of wonder. And we have never had so much, I don't want to say disagreement because it wasn't that, but it's like never so much differing opinions on which episode should be covered alongside this, because there were so many references in this one.
There was so many.
Like, oh, what if that one never gets mentioned again? Because, like, yeah, like I'm saying, the Almoran guys, I can't remember the race, but those guys with the game from Deep Space Nine, will they get mentioned again? I don't know, but there's 5 other references which felt like they might only ever be referenced here. So,
yeah,
it's a bit of poison.
No, absolutely. And I think we've gone with the one that's the most featured.
I feel like it was even for this and Contagion for me. But also no conspiracy, pardon.
Conspiracy, yeah.
You're only interested in butt bugs.
Yeah,
I wanted
bugs.
butt bugs because I thought it was so hilarious. They just kept on calling them butt bugs, and they referenced them like 3 or 4 times. It was great.
And like all of this that we've talked about so far is really related to the B plot, which is Mariner and Boimler at the booth. And all the different things, like you say, you've got the Wadi, they're the Almoran guys. And you've got an archaeologist. There's sort of shades of Vash there.
Yeah.
And you've my favourite though were the Starfleet Truthers. I thought they were great. And they're exactly the sort of thing that you would get in the Star Trek universe. Like, hang on, what's the truth about Captain Sisko? And as we've mentioned, the butt bugs.
And also, I did love the fact that there were so many of these points that they were bringing up when they were coming up to the booth. A lot of them were kind of true. Like, some of them were exaggerated, obviously, but it's like quite a few people do get taken over by the Borg in Starfleet. She's not wrong.
Yeah. Why you're wearing uniforms if you're not a military?
Yes.
You're actually a navy. You're very naval. You're not just explorers.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? That's why the humour works, because it is poking fun at, to a large extent, at discussions fans have had. Like, I've seen various online discussions about, well, is Starfleet a military or is it not?
Well, that's it. There's I can't remember who does it. It's a YouTube channel. I can't remember its name off the top of my head. But he did a big thing on this, are they militaristic or not? And he goes, like, first season of early TOS, they were definitely militaristic. But then when you get to Next Gen, especially at the start, the Federation had become complacent. And there were more explorers and they weren't militaristic. And it showed with things that they come out with. But then after the Borg, they become a military again. And by year 9, they literally are a full-blown military.
I mean, my take on it is that Starfleet wants to be an exploratory thing, but has to be a military at times.
Yeah, and for a force which isn't the military, they mention their links to the Navy quite a lot. Or
yeah, they do have a very imposed ranking system that,
And they've always got, like, the ships, and a lot of them have the starships going back to naval ships. So it's like, if you want to say you're not military, you're not doing a great job at convincing people here.
It's one of the things, like the Federation not having money, that it's a nice idea, but when you scrutinize it a bit, it doesn't. You can't quite wrap your head around how it might actually work. But there we go.
Well, we've talked about this previously, and I imagine the Federation operates more on a barter system.
Yes, I think so.
That you've got this mineral or this material on your planet. We'll provide all these facilities if you mine that mineral for us.
I
We'll
just
give
sort
you
of
the skills and the replicators and
Yeah, I think that's it.
and the energy stuff and everything else, and we'll protect your planet if you mine all this stuff for us.
I think there's probably also like a bit of when you're dealing with Ferengi, they have a reserve of gold pressed platinum, but within every Federation world, it's all done between them.
Yeah,
you'd imagine so. So the main plot then. So Rutherford's having nightmares right at the start, and we get another one of them where the teaser is just totally plot driven. There is a throwaway gag in it, but it is just a setup to the episode. It's a teaser that ties in directly to the story we're going to tell. And then he wakes up and he got the evil red eye, which that's obviously a concession to this being animation. I think we're probably meant to accept that he's not really got an evil red eye, because surely someone would have commented.
That's how we're seeing them.
Yeah, I think that's...
I assume it's a different filter on his eye thing, which we don't.
Well,
which
how I assumed it was, it's like when they're looking in the mirror or windows at each other, reflections, there's Rutherford at one side, and then he sees the other side, and it's how they're perceiving each other.
Oh, that's
I
interesting.
think so.
I thought it was actually going red, but it's like when someone's hair is a bit different, but you can't quite place what's different about them.
Yeah,
It's just...
I think it'd be too obvious to everyone if he was suddenly going around with a red light on the front of his face.
Yeah, I think it's one of them things. It's an artistic flourish, like in Battlestar Galactica, where the Cylons' spines glow red when they're shagging. It's like, did you really tell me nobody noticed that? Like,
no one's had an overhead mirror or anything.
Well, no, they did show some bits where you saw it as it would have been seen. So you've got, I think is it Baltar, it's one of them in the seat where Styx has climbed on top of them, and then you just see him like it flashes to a shot of what everyone else is seeing, and he's just there in the chair going,
oh yeah, I remember that.
It was great. When you said about the teaser in this episode, I actually thought you meant the hunky guy going past his bed as he's screaming when he wakes up.
You get that as well.
Yeah,
and it turns out that
to have a small towel guy.
Yes,
it's so funny though. It's like, what?
Well, it's fair representation, isn't it? We've seen Tendi in just a towel this season, so you've got to give a bit for the
ladies.
Yeah, for the ladies watching. Exactly. So Rutherford, then, it turns out it's actually his younger self that's kind of manifesting here, and young Rutherford is very, very different to Rutherford that we know at this point.
Yeah, it's great, and it's like without the eye patch, he looks so different, even though it's just basically the same cartoon, with just extra bit thrown in.
And he's gonna steal the captain's yacht, but Shax stops him. And this is where he ends up in like this mind prison where most of the episode takes place.
Are we not going to go into the scene with Tandy? Because I love that bit where she was just basically he's talking to the evil him, and he's going, it's like, I'll be fine. I'll just throw in some, like, basically just agrees to throw in a few Flounderisms, and they'll never guess that it's him. And so he goes, "Oh, Oakley dokley," and then she goes, "Oh, brilliant!" Yeah, Tandy just doesn't question him because he just throws in some platitudes, which he would have said.
Because it's normal Rutherford sort of assertion. Oh, they'll work it out straight away. There's no way you can fool them. And it's like, no, you can.
I'll just go Oakley.
And I thought the bit when Evil Rutherford was chatting up the Trill as well, which they used actual dialogue from other episodes. So there has been with Dax talk about, do the spots go all the way down?
Yeah.
But yeah, just ultimate creepy. It kind of just very felt like William Shatner when he had the split into two. They
did mention that they'd had 4 dates, so you assume with how the Americans are with the dating system that by now Rutherford would be fully aware if the spots went all the way down.
You would think so. And also, look, I think it's time for like a Me Too movement in terms of the way we speak to Trills. Like, that is an old joke about the spots. It's not appropriate. We need to stop it.
Yeah,
And
I suspect Ellie was right that he actually secretly did know that the spots went all the way down. He was just because he wanted to see him.
But real Rutherford would know, because she says that they've been on 4 dates.
yeah,
And in the Americans, your third date is
the one.
But Rutherford is quite a gentleman. He's very old-fashioned, you know. As I say, he uses the speech a bit like Ned Flanders.
The 4th century, so that's pretty old-fashioned 400 years back.
I'm just saying, I reckon Rutherford is the one person in the future who might not have seen all our spots on the 4th date.
Maybe not. Maybe we'll find out in a future episode, unless he's completely ruined his, or evil Rutherford's ruined his. Well, not evil. Young Rutherford has ruined his chances.
Rutherford.
Yeah, I'm sure she will do.
Because there was no secret about what was happening to him.
Yeah, I think you'd quite often in the Star Trek universe, you'd have to, like when people's Facebook accounts get hacked now and they put a thing up saying, I got hacked, don't answer any messages.
Yeah.
You probably have to do that quite often in the Star Trek universe. Like, I got possessed by my younger self. Please ignore anything I said to you in the last 24 hours.
Star date so-and-so, star date so-and-so.
Yeah. And I think people must be quite mindful of that. And like you said, Squee, there is that thing of, all these glitches you've been having and everything have been me trying to reassert myself. Brilliant.
I do like how
now I want to watch more back to see them.
To influence him by hitting himself in his eye patch.
Oh, yeah, that's good fun.
And also, it's like, well, what's that time when I really like pears? I love pears!
And that has been... I can't remember the episode, but I'm pretty sure that has been mentioned, the pear thing previously.
Yeah, like pears for no reason.
Because I told Elliot, before I'd seen the episode, he goes, I love pears. I go, no spoilers. I don't even want pear-based spoilers. I'm that purist about it.
And then, I think we're being led to assume that this is something to do with Section 31, whatever's happened to him.
It wouldn't surprise me if it's a complete curveball.
It wouldn't me either. But as I say, I think...
I'm with you. My immediate thoughts is this is something to do with Section 31. And then my second thought is, right, it obviously isn't, because that's what they want me to think.
Yeah, that's it. They want us to think that.
Works.
I think the one thing we're going to get is whoever that person is saying, who's in charge of that, it's going to be someone we know. I reckon it's that was the bit I honed in on. I think it's
going to be someone we know and someone doing it for his own benefit.
Yeah.
For Rutherford's benefit, not for their benefit.
Oh, maybe, yeah. That'd be interesting.
To see if the person is someone we know from Lower Decks or if it's from the wider Star Trek
but
world.
I'm thinking that it might not be, like, this might not be a big conspiracy like how it's being played up at the moment. That it's a complete curveball on it.
It could turn out to be something nice, something good. I don't know. So it leads to, we're going to have a race to see who gets to keep the body, and that's where Rutherford builds the Delta Flyer and everything.
Yeah.
And we get the uniforms from the episode we're about to look at. So, it's all great.
That's what sold me in the end on this one, because I was like, I did like Contagion, but then when you said about the
animation
that was such a nice deep cuts one.
The animation of the Delta Flyer is brilliant, because it actually looks so similar to what we had in Voyager. If you look at like a comparison one next to the other, there's hardly any difference. In fact, the animated one from Lower Decks, in some respects, looks sharper because of when Voyager was made.
Oh, this is something I've noticed. Yeah, the animation on Lower Decks, some of the ships, they look so good. Like, they look better than in some episodes of Star Trek, you know.
Yeah.
Like in early DS9, when they liked a lot of CGI effects, which they weren't quite ready for. I mean, don't get me wrong, by the end of Deep Space Nine, they were masters at it, and you saw huge battles with like really detailed ships. But near the beginning, Jesus, there was this episode where Bashir, I think he's been overtaken by a changeling's gone in his place the first time.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes to pilot the runabout into the sun, and just it goes to the worst special effects when the Defiant tries to get out. It's just
it's not great. But
anyway, sorry, I think it looks really good.
They do look great.
I did actually like it when they were repairing the shuttlecraft earlier, when he's talking to Tendi. If you look in the background, It looks like the name of the shuttle's got burned off and they've written it in on like crayon or something.
Yes, yeah, that was a great detail.
Notice.
And again, Squee, you mentioned it, where they bring the crew in. That's great. That's a really good Starfleet hero moment that he's got his friends to help him.
Yeah, you're going, oh shit, he's done the Delta Flyer. This guy's got a bespoke thing. How are they going to make it so he wins? It's like, because he relied on his friends. It's the most Star Trek thing.
Yeah, I've got a crew. I'm not trying to do everything on my own.
Yeah, just brilliant.
I do like how he's imagined it, though, that they all calling him Captain.
Yeah, well, if you're going to imagine it, you've got to met yourself. I mean, who would pretend to be a captain in any kind of walk of life that give themselves titles and things? It'd just be ridiculous. But
I'd have them report to sickbay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's more or less it, isn't it? Ransom is impressed with Boimler for kicking off with everyone at the show, but he's still got to put him in the brig. It's like, you've got to go to the brig, but that were pretty good.
Want it with Boimler because, like, he's beating one of them up and going, do you think we want to fight Klingons and Romulans all the time? No, we want to be out exploring fucking quasars.
Yeah.
Like, there's actually quite a lot of F-bombs in this episode.
And it's also when they stomp his Pip into the ground, it just reminds me so much of the scene from Trouble with Tribbles with Scotty, where it's like he's going, no, lad, come on, no, we're better than that. We're not going to race to this bait. The Enterprise should be hauled away as garbage. It's like, right, you're starting on the Enterprise. and it's the same thing. It's you've got she's being like really reactive to everything, and he's calm. It's like, you took my Pip away. And he's chasing away those. It's the bit where he's chasing the Ferengi, and they go off screen. And you hear this Ferengi going, "Fuck off." I just pissed myself. I don't know why that was so funny, but I pissed myself so much at that bit.
Because random swearing is funny. Don't care what people say.
And it was just because it was a screen that went to the last minute. But as they're kind of continuing the scenes, like, fuck off. Sorry.
I do like it at the end, though, when Ransom's talking to him on the ship and he's there. Are you going to send me to Starbase 82? Oh, no, it's awful there. But you are going in the brig. What? Yeah, but I'm really proud of what you did, standing up for Starfleet.
But I've never been in the brig.
And I like this. It's mentioned twice, is Starbase 80 being, so I feel like we've got to see Starbase 80.
Yeah.
I feel like Lower Decks doesn't tease things like that if it's not got some sort of plan for it. So
yeah, when it's like, these things with Rutherford are from season 1 and season 2, and we only just get a bit more of it. It's like they've obviously got a plan with this show. I know that we're seeing a lot of it's all standalone episodes, but there's a plan.
Yeah, they've definitely got character arcs that they want to tell and things like that.
Stories
I mean, the Vasher-like character from the stall next to them is obviously going to be around.
Yeah, that's something else they're setting up there. Are we going to do something about, will Mariner be tempted to actually leave Starfleet? Will she actually leave Starfleet? You never know. Yeah. So we got all that to look forward to. But so that led us on to Drive, which is the Voyager episode. And I like this one a lot better this time than I remembered it. Like, I remembered it vaguely, and I was like, oh, it's okay. But I thought this was a really good fun one.
A good fun episode.
I think it was great whenever it was about the race. And I think, as we'll get into, they should have focused on the race. There was a lot of other storylines which I don't think worked as well within it. But the whole race was great. And, like, the whole thing of someone sabotaging it, that was all really well done. But, we'll get onto Harry's flirting style at one stage.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but yeah.
Wait until we get
that storyline sort of starts, doesn't it? Right away, really. Harry and Tom have a bit of a race with this woman, and they win, but they have to save her. And obviously, because it's a beautiful alien woman, that's Harry Kim done for the episode.
And he keeps on doing these really lame flirt, like you can just about tell he's trying to flirt, but it's like, hey, or I could be your co-pilot. I could come on board your ship. And she's like, yeah, fine, whatever. And when I'm meant to believe they've got chemistry, there is nothing coming from her. And
are we meant to believe that? I'm not sure we are meant to believe that.
No, I will point you to some quotes from the episode. So Torres says that he's got a glow about him. Paris is saying, "Oh, it sounds like you found the one." It's like, where the fuck are they getting that from what they've seen? He's been doing very poor flirting, and she's not been responding to it.
I think Tom's taking the piss, though, isn't it? Like, it's not a bog, it's not a lizard, it's not a...
But I think the bit where they say at the end, they feel like he could be happy with this woman. I think that's
maybe.
Was the way I read that.
That's the funny thing, is it's almost like the writers are acknowledging, okay, Harry Kim's got this bad run of romantic interests. So let's call attention to it in the episode, and then it turns out she's a saboteur. Ha ha ha! Skit on Harry. Like, bit harsh writers. You could have. You didn't have to draw attention to it just to set him up for a fall again. You could have let that pass, but no. It's really. Season 7. Let's give Harry even more of a kicking because we haven't got many episodes left to do it in.
Shall we kill him off again? Let's kill him spiritually instead. That'll be fun.
Like, he doesn't quite get it as bad as O'Brien, but he definitely has the writers against him in the same sort of ways O'Brien did. Like, what shit do you think can we do to Harry this week?
Yeah, but like O'Brien, it's never usually his fault, but a lot of Harry's problems are just because he's a bit lame. And whereas O'Brien, bad things just happen to him. But yeah.
You also feel like they write it for O'Brien because he's so good he can get out of any situation.
Yeah,
like Harry, we'll kill him and then someone else will bring him back and we'll kill him a lot. And then we'll just start really just going at him personally. Like we'll have him doing some really crap flirting where he won't get anywhere with
That's the thing, and
then everyone can bring up his shit dating life. That'll be great.
Yeah, and it is creepy the way he's just so blatantly sniffing around her as soon as they. It's like, oh come on, Harry, have a bit of dignity.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one that she'd be telling her best friend about. It's like, could you just, if he's about, could you just call me, or like, or could you just sort of turn up on
like, as soon as she's being aboard, it's almost like he's going, I've sent you a friend request on Facebook.
Yeah, it is like that.
Are you on Instagram? I'll add you to my WhatsApp group.
It is. You're right.
Creepy.
He's doing little pictures of them getting married already.
One other subplot that's kind of sprinkled across the episode, but let's just deal with it in one go. It's the Doctor wanting to play golf, and don't have a problem with that as a character beat. What I do have a problem with is the props that they build for the putter and for the balls. And it's one of them things where they're like, oh, we've got to make it look futuristic. It's like, golf clubs and balls have pretty much been designed as far as they need to. They do not need light up balls that
flashing lights.
And also the club was just metal. Like, it's meant to give a bit of bounce, is like a whole thing, surely. Like the way they just.
See, I almost gave that a pass. I was gonna not mention it until I saw the flashy balls because.
Well,
golf putters, you do see all sorts of weird and wonderful things because golfers are quite superstitious about putters and they over-design them to such a ridiculous extent. So you might see a putter like that, but the ball, silly.
All I'm saying is...
Some of that got me about this was when he was practicing and he kept missing. And I was thinking, hang about, he's got the entire ship's sensors control his movements. So he can do to micron surgery, and yet he can't swing a golf club accurately.
But it's how he's designed. Like, so they show when they're designing the Bashir one, they take his personality traits. So I reckon they took the golf ability of Lewis Zimmerman, and that's can't you? But for me, the good thing about them mentioning having the flashy balls. There was it was very helpful when they did the Star Trek Voyager porn parody that went right into the screen.
Yeah,
great scene.
Which we'll put a link to it in the show notes if you want to check that out.
But I really like the Doctor popping up because he just felt like he was a good bit of levity. It worked nicely alongside the main plot. Again, the other plot line I could have done without was Torres and Paris's love story.
It's a weird one, the way it
felt forced.
Yeah, the way they do it this episode's weird because it's like he's going to do the Rumble and it's like, I'm not angry. It's fine if he wants to do his race. But then the next minute, she's going to see Neelix saying it's all over. We're done.
Yeah.
Like, really? I know B'Elanna's hot-headed and a Klingon side and everything. But it's like, really? That's like a couple of teenagers who were going out like, oh, he don't like Metallica as much as he likes Iron Maiden. We're through,
And one good conversation from dumping him to marrying him. That seems very forced as well. It's like, I mean, that's an emotionally unstable person. I'm sorry, but
yeah, I mean, B'Elanna isn't she? But the thing is, I think this is
emotionally unstable. He just described most of the Klingon Empire.
Yeah,
but I mean, at least they don't go from like they wouldn't go from wanting to dump someone to wanting to marry them. They'd be like they would have just dumped them by then.
Go from being married to someone to wanting to kill them.
But
that's fine.
I think in this case, I think it's bad writing rather than consistent Klingon writing within this episode.
They wanted to get to an end result and did it badly.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
I would have even bought, right, she's decided because they can have their date, she'll go along with him in Harry's place. Harry's phoned that because wants to help them out. And then on that, they have such a great time. He proposed to her. You could have just done that as a much simpler pair-down plot, given some more time to the race because that was fucking awesome.
The race was cool.
The race and the Doctor should have been the subplot with him getting his nose out of joint and,
Well, we did get some more of this race, like a few years later when SG-1 copied it.
I just say this was very nicely done. And I mean, at least in the SG-1 thing, they didn't have two other subplots which didn't really
That's
work.
what I mean. You get more of the race in the SG-1 version. Yeah. SG-1 literally copied the political part of it with a space race and had more race.
And I know we're jumping all over the episode, but that was the other thing. When they decided that they would hold the meeting on the ship, that's the only thing that Janeway suggests. And he goes, wow, I'm sure as good at racing as you are at politics. God, you're going to win this race easily. She had one fucking idea. And it was just
also,
why does that take the impression off? Like these people they've never met, they're going to hold the meeting aboard their ship. Why is that less political? I would have thought some people had their nose out of joint. It was held there.
Yeah, and all of a sudden it's like, you get
it's neutral ground, which does make sense. That
to a degree,
to put something there. That's neutral.
But it has to be neutral ground that the two parties know. If it's neutral ground, it's a new location. That's going to raise suspicions. Like, if it was
it's a bit weird.
Earlier, fair enough.
I mean, my issue with that scene was the ambassador guys in Janeway's ready room and Chakotay's there, and they go, "Oh, he's got a call." Oh, Janeway says, "Put it through here." You think the guy would be like, "No, can I take it in private?"
Yeah,
but Janeway and Chakotay just stood there, like clearly eavesdropping on it. Like it's so awkward. Like I expected him to go, "Do you want us to go out so you can?" It's like they're looking at him, going, "No, you're going to take this call in front of us."
To be fair, this is a trope that runs all the way through Star Trek, and it's not just this episode. And I mean all the way through Star Trek. That as soon as you arrive in any alien environment, their ideals sort out the problems almost overnight. And the simplest thing that needs sorting out ends up in courts for years and years in our society.
Yes, true.
Let alone sorting out the whole society overnight because of arriving.
Yeah, it just seems like another example of the shortcuts in this episode. They take shortcuts on Janeway apparently being this awesome diplomat. Everyone trusts them, despite the fact they've never met them. The shortcuts they take with the relationship, with Harry flirting with the girl. I think, for me, it felt like they were trying to suggest that he was getting somewhere with it when he wasn't. Like, you need to show a scene showing that. like the whole Blana and Paris thing that was rushed. Everything just seemed like just shortcutted to the point where it just those things don't work. And again, we've got the main plot, which is really fun.
Yeah, we didn't get enough for the main plot, like you say. There's a lovely shot.
The wacky racing all over this.
Yeah. Thing. When the race starts, there's a brilliant shot where they fly past Voyager and you see everyone from the inside looking out the observation window. That's just a great special effect. And it's one of them, not necessary at all. You didn't need to put it in there, but it's just a great shot to have in there. I loved it.
The other thing which I want to raise, so I'm on gripe mode, even though I did quite. It doesn't sound like it, but I did quite enjoy this episode for the main plot. But it was also when they've got Janeway's going, it's like, no, the reports can wait of dangerous criminals on board or whatever. Okay, it doesn't say that because like, but a few instances like, well, that'll wait, fuck it. I don't know what they are, and I won't check, but we're having a race here. And then Tuvok just drops being a Vulcan for a minute, goes, no, that can wait. Oh, if it's okay. It's like, give someone else that line. That's Tuvok can't say that line.
Tuvok gets well into the race, doesn't he? Because Neelix is doing his commentary. Which, like,
him kind of trying to cover up afterwards for the fact that he's had an emotional slip, but he's just like, just being emotional. Yeah, you're right.
Neelix like Neelix's commentary, and I thought that fitted really well.
Yeah, it does, because it's like Seven of, and it's good interplay between Neelix and Seven, because it's like, no, Seven, you're not getting it. You need to make it exciting. You know,
I did it 11 minutes ago.
Yeah, there's no point just describing it. It's in factual terms. You've got to inject a bit of passion into it.
I mean, if anything, I wish they'd used that when he had his Neelix talk show. If he'd been like almost like a shock jock style radio host, if he'd been a fast talking DJ, I think that would have been quite fun. Like this just shows you what Neelix could have been. He could have been a fun character.
Yeah, he could have been. Like, it's a shame.
Neelix is one of them. He's a strange character because there's some episodes and Neelix is absolutely brilliant as a character. And then they'll ruin it the episode after and show the Neelix is a really, really crap character. And
it's very true. And it's worth saying that Ethan Phillips is wonderful in the role. He's a great actor, but it's just writing lets him down so often.
Yeah.
It does. Like, if you like hear interviews or he's been on podcasts and stuff, Ethan Phillips, and he's just such a charismatic, engaging guy. And you only rarely see that in Neelix, and it can only be because he's not given good enough material most of the time, you know.
Because you see him in some episodes, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, there's some great Neelix stuff. So the race gets stopped, and they go, right, everybody stay where you are. But then next thing we know, Tom's ship and the alien ship are both back on Voyager, and they're doing repairs on it. It's like, are you allowed to do this mid-race? I know they have pit stops where they change tyres and stuff, but your risk of doing that is that everyone else is still racing while you're doing it, and it's a calculated gamble of, do I do it now and a few seconds that I can make back later? Or whereas this, it's right, stop, you can all fix them. Like, surely that defeats the object a little bit.
You destroyed our shield by rubbing against us. In a race where you're allowed to rub against each other.
It's a bit.
Speaking of the Me Too movement, like with the ships rubbing against each other, it's just not appropriate.
And the thing is, it robs the race of its dramatic impetus. If we can just stop it, then it loses any sort of excitement and tension it had built up to that point. And obviously, it's because we're not really going to finish the race now. We're going to do the other thing. And again, I think Harry doesn't come off this here because you're there watching it and going, Harry, she's planted a bomb on the finish line. I know it's not quite what they're doing, but it's like, that is clearly what's going on, Harry. And he's like, wait a minute, you want them to go up here and do this. And then he like, she's going to blow them up at the finish line, Harry. Come on, get there quicker.
Also, when Harry finally does send through a message to the Delta Flyer, you've got Paris going, wait a minute, let me just look into the details of what's happening before I listen to what Harry said. Harry's just gone, I forget what he said. It's something like "get the hell out of there" or just
No,
But he sends it by Morse code.
Oh yeah, but they get the message, and as opposed to jumping into action, they go, "No, I'm going to look at some sense and stuff," as opposed to just doing what Harry said and then asking questions later.
Nah, it's because he knows Harry's unreliable. He's like, you've got to double check Harry's work. You can't just take him on face value. I mean, come on.
It's like bombs going off. Okay, let's have a little meeting about this before we act.
Yeah. And then Tom proposes, and the next thing is the shuttle's got a just married thing. I'm like, wait a minute, we didn't even do a wedding episode.
Well, we've seen the wedding episode earlier was it last season? In Course Oblivion.
Oh, did they show the wedding in that for
they showed the
doppelgangers? Yeah.
The doppelganger wedding.
Ah, I'd forgotten about that.
Because that was the start of the ship going funny because she had the ice fell through the deck.
Ah, right, yeah. And maybe that's it then. Maybe they just didn't want to double up. But it just felt like, really? Oh, they've already got married. I thought...
Yeah, who married them?
Captain Janeway, obviously, because she's a
yeah,
captain.
But they're still stuck on the Delta Flyer. They even have a line where she goes, "Oh, and this is the worst captain's log ever." Because surely this is an official log we're meant to believe, and she's going like, "Valana and Tom are still trying to effect repairs on the Delta Flyer, but I don't think they're in any hurry." Why are you
Don't she say they've gone on a holiday, though?
Yeah, in fact,
I got the impression this was after everything was wrapped up, then she finally lets them go on holiday.
Yeah.
But there's... Okay, but...
Because somebody's painted just married on the back of it.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense.
Of tin cans.
But she says, and I don't think they're in too much of a hurry to get back. I thought that was referring to repairs they were making.
No, I think it was like we're sticking around for a bit.
Imagine that. Everything's wrapped up about the race. They've gone back to Voyager. They've got married. And Janeway's decided that they're going to have a stopover for however long they're on the honeymoon.
Yeah.
And they're on the Delta Flyer on the honeymoon, so they can't be disturbed.
It was a very rushed ending and a very rushed
marriage.
I mean, I still think even if you've had the marriage in another timeline, a series before, you have an episode around them getting married. It just seems like...
You've had an episode where they got married and then you had loads of drama and everything happening. So now you've got... No, they've just gone off and got married and it's all hunky-dory.
I mean, even if you just...
next week they'll be a married couple and she'll be pregnant.
Even if you don't, exactly. Even if you don't want to show the whole marriage, you could have just had one scene where it's at the end of the marriage and Janeway pronounces them man and wife, and then
you know what though, I think what happened is they were talking about it, in the writers' room, and the actors were talking, and Robert Duncan McNeil obviously said, Tom and B'Elanna are going to get married. And Garrett Wong said, wait, Harry's going to be the best man. I'm going to get a really good role in that episode. And the writers went, oh, wait a minute. Nope.
I also think they're in that same writers' room. They're in that same writers' room. And they go to the kind of head writers like, right, we've got to pitch for like a few really great episodes. So there's one where there's going to be a great space race, kind of think wacky race in space. It's going to be great. We'll have another one. Jill's come up with this plot where it's where you've got Janeway and Torres and Paris getting married, and they're gonna fall out. She's gonna want to dump him, but then it comes around the end, and there's another story which Bill came up with, and it's gonna be Harry Kim. He's gonna fall in love with this woman, but she's gonna be a saboteur. And they go, "Oh, sorry, no, guys, we've got one episode left in this one. Okay, we'll just combine them all together. It'll be fine. We've got enough time. It'll be great." That's what this episode feels like a little bit. But again, it's such a shame because there is a great main plot to it in the
yeah. I really enjoyed it. I mean, you can pick it apart as we have done. And
if you want to see more of the space race, and it will be coming to Amazon Prime soon because it says G1. They do Space Race season 8 or season 7.
I think it's season 7. I've got a feeling.
You said 7 episode 3 the other day. I don't know.
One is.
Yeah, because it's the series where Daniel's only in some of them, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah,
but there's Space Race to do, and it really is a rip-off of this episode because Drive was made in 99 and Space Race was made in 2003. But you get the race and lots of the race. And when they have a problem, they don't go back to the ship and get repairs. They're on the hoof.
And anyone who's like listening to us for the first time or not listened to many of our episodes, we just want to point out that when we cover older episodes, we do try and have a little bit of fun with it. It doesn't mean we don't like the episodes or that we're hating on Voyager or anything. It's just we feel like so much critical discourse has been done on these episodes over the years that we're just going to have a bit of a laugh with it. So please don't think that we hate it or anything. It's all in good humour.
And also, like, you can love something. In fact, I think if you love something, you want to pick it apart more. You kind of like,
Absolutely.
when it's doing really well, you want to get rid of any bits which aren't as good. So, like, again,
take away from the good bits.
Yeah, I mean, I think trying to do too much really killed this.
I don't think we hating on it by saying that we wanted to see more of the wedding.
No, we're not. I'm just pointing out for anyone who's not familiar with when we do older episodes that we do take a more humorous approach to them quite often. But I thought this was a great fun episode, though as we pointed out,
it too much.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. And so I wonder if, like, we know this is from the final season, if they suddenly found out that they weren't getting an 8th season, if they thought that it might go on longer, and then they suddenly have things that they had, like, it's almost like they're trying to tie up the Tom and B'Elanna have to be married.
Oh shit, we meant to get Tom and B'Elanna married.
Like, yeah, but they also have, she gets pregnant and has a baby, and I wonder if she's already become pregnant at this point. Maybe
the actress was, and they thought, you know what, we can't show an unmarried couple having a baby in the Star Trek universe.
She found out she's pregnant, which is timing right because it's a 6-month season, and she has a baby in the last episode.
I mean, the most fun one they did was with Frasier, which has got a Star Trek link through Paramount, and they had a lot of casts going back and forth.
Mm-hmm. And he also captains the Bozeman.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The casts kind of go back and forth. It's usually from Star Trek to either Cheers or Frasier, but you say, Kelsey Grammer goes back. Anyway, they do there's one series where Daphne, played by Jane Leeves, is obviously really heavily pregnant, and they just basically make out like she's got fat, like because of they write in this really kind of quite fun storyline whereby because Niles puts her on a pedestal so much, it's so much pressure, so she turns to eating. But it's just there's ridiculous stuff of her always hiding snacks on the set and just stuffing her face. It's just like, she's not pregnant, she's just fat. I mean, she's clearly pregnant, but it was kind of a fun way of doing something different.
That's a good way to do it, rather than just having people stood behind a desk all the time or whatever.
Or have a baby written into it, which you don't want for that character at that time. Just do something different. So she was off having the baby, she was away at fat camp for a couple of months.
Well, you go the X-Files route. You just have alien abduction. That's how you deal with a pregnancy. Anyway, so I think that about does us for this week.
Like I said, I wonder if that's why the wedding was rushed, because
could have been. It could have been.
She found out she was pregnant, and it's right. We have to rush this in now.
Yeah, it could well have been. But we'll be back next week to talk about more Lower Decks and whatever episode that might take us to. It could be Move Along Home, you never know. If you want to get in touch with us in the meantime.
I'm hoping for Code of Honor.
No one's hoping for Code of Honor.
I mean, if it comes up, and I had to tell, just for anyone listening, I had to tell the guys off because they're now looking for bad episodes to cover if they're in the episode. I'm like, no, unless it's a primary reference. If it's a primary reference and there's a need to do that episode, then fair enough. But if you're just looking for bad episodes, no, we're not doing
there's
that.
a lot of these episodes that, under normal circumstances, we wouldn't look at going back and covering. So, because we do series, we've got Dominion War going on. We've decided we're going to look at the Erosion as one series. We did Reg Barclay previously. We've done time travel. So it's quite nice to some of these episodes that we otherwise wouldn't go back and watch and review, that we're giving them a chance.
That's fine.
Yeah,
but you
what
literally
we
said in one episode, let's do that next because it's a bad episode. No, that's not the thinking.
What we don't want to be doing is sat here when we're 70 and we've covered every other episode of Star Trek and we go, oh, we've got the 20 worst episodes ever to cover in the next 20 weeks.
You see, we're planning on.
I'm just thinking, like, the Lower Decks people will always give us lots of episodes to cover, and some of them are going to be bad. They're reclaiming some of them, I feel like.
But
well, we'll find out.
You have to jump in with the reference in Lower Decks because it gives us the excuse to cover it.
Well, we'll find out pretty soon. But in the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, we're at ReTrekPod on Twitter, retrekpod@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us wherever at the minute on social media. Dr. Squee, you've got the Dr. Squee show going on.
I do. We're basically playing all the interviews from Squeefest. I believe next up is probably Nicola Bryant. I think.
Ooh.
I'm trying to think of the schedule in my head. So we did Ian McNeice this week. I believe it's Nicola Bryant next week, who of course played Perry in Doctor Who, for anyone who doesn't know. 6 till 8 on a Tuesday every week, UK time, on sw20radio.co.uk, the new sound of South Wales, because I'm obviously so Welsh.
Absolutely. And thanks for us this time. We'll see you next time on the Retrek.
Walk with the Prophets.
Bye-bye.